Hey, Sophia. How you doing?
How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for coming. Come together, guys. Come together. Sure. Come
Yep.
together.
Get cozy.
Hey guys, some of you come over here on this side. Use 3, 4 minutes. Kind of come over.
Yes. Better stay. Hi guys.
All set? All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm State Representative Dave Prestin from the Michigan's 108th District, representing the central and the eastern regions of the Upper Peninsula. We're gathered here with leaders from Cleveland Cliffs Management, representatives from the United Steelworkers, and my fellow UP legislators to address the Michigan Public Service Commission's recent proposal decision for case U-21813 regarding UMERC's Upper Michigan Energy Resource Corporation's amended Renewable Energy Plan. This plan, as proposed, threatens our region's economic backbone by driving up energy costs through premature retirements of our 13 natural gas plants that were just placed in service in 2018, and overbuilding long-term renewables without properly accounting for Tilden's mine operational timeline. These decisions could add millions in unnecessary surcharges, starting with $14,000 a day daily surcharges, to Cleveland Cliffs starting next year, jeopardizing over 1,000 direct good-paying jobs and thousands more indirect jobs that the mine utilizes will ripple across our region and our communities. We stand united in urging the Commission to reject this flawed approach in its final order and prioritize affordable, reliable energy that supports our iron ore industry and working families. I'll turn it over now to our partners at Cleveland Cliffs for their remarks.
Thank you, Representative. I'm Patrick Bloom. I serve as the Executive Vice President of Government Relations for Cleveland Cliffs. I'm joined today by two of my colleagues, Chad Asgard, who's Vice President of Operations with oversight over Cleveland Cliffs' entire iron ore mining and processing business, and Anya Ediger, our Director of State and Local Government Relations. Also by a number of colleagues from the USW who represent workers at our Tilden mine in the Upper Peninsula. I want to start by acknowledging the leadership of the UP delegation, Representative Prestin, Representative Bohnak, Senator McBroom, Representative Markkanen, and Representative Fairbairn for carrying this critically important legislation. Also, thanks to the folks from USW Local 4950 and 4974 for being here today. And I'd also like to thank the USW for attracting the broader support of the union movement in Michigan, which will be critical to the passage of these very important pieces of legislation. As a reminder, Tilden employs more than 900 workers with an annual aggregate payroll of roughly $200 million. This common sense legislation is fundamentally about preserving Tilden as the economic engine of the Upper Peninsula and, importantly, ensuring affordable power for tens of thousands of UP ratepayers. 10 years ago, many of you will remember, Cleveland Cliffs came together with the state of Michigan and other UP stakeholders to resolve, once and for all, we thought, an electric reliability and affordability crisis in the UP. The construction of the RICE generators that the representative just mentioned was the perfect solution. It was one that assured the reliability and affordability of electric power and resulted in huge, very substantial emissions reductions and environmental benefits for the entire region. The RICE generators have become a real asset for the UP and have enhanced the competitiveness of the Tilden mine. Unfortunately, under the 2023 Michigan Clean Energy Law, that act did not recognize this achievement, nor did it provide accommodation for the continued operation of these new, clean, and highly efficient RICE generators. If these RICE generators are forced to retire early, and UP ratepayers must pay billions of dollars for replacement generation, the continued operation of the Tilden mine will be in jeopardy. That's not a threat, it's not an overstatement, it's an economic reality that Tilden and other ratepayers cannot bear billions of dollars of additional costs for new generation while we're still in the process of paying for those RICE generators which were installed back during the 2018-2019 timeframe. Tilden is facing these costs now, with projected cost increases of $5 million in 2026 and $6 million in 2027 for projects that don't directly benefit the mine. Unless this legislation is successful, that's just the tip of the tail in terms of the cost that UP ratepayers, including the Tilden mine, can be expected to bear in the years and decades to come. I want to close with this. Michigan is a big, beautiful, and very diverse state. It's a state where policymakers here in Lansing have long understood that what is best for Grand Rapids and Detroit in terms of policy may not be quite right for Ishpeming, Negaunee, or Baraga. We now need acknowledgement that the energy landscape in the Upper Peninsula is distinct and that it merits accommodation under state policy. We call on the Senate to quickly pass House Bill 4007 and House Bill 4283 in a bipartisan manner, just like the House did back in May, and we urge Governor Whitmer to sign this legislation into law. The continued operation of the Tilden mine and 900 family-sustaining jobs depend on it. It's now my pleasure to introduce and call to the podium Representative Bohnak, who represents the Tilden mine.
Thank you, Patrick. I ran for office because of this energy issue. I worked on television for over 3 decades, and energy is the lifeblood of our economy. And we have a 175-year-old industry, mining, that relies on reliable and affordable energy. And as Patrick mentioned, there's lots of jobs involved. And with me now is Michael Grans. He's a representative of United Steelworkers Local 4950. He's going to talk more about the impact this may have on union workers and employment in general here in the Upper Peninsula. Michael?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Grans, and I'm the Vice President of Local 4950 in Negaunee, Michigan, the heart of the Marquette Iron Range and the birthplace of iron ore in the Great Lakes region. The members of United Steelworkers 4950 and 4974, including myself, are employed by Cleveland Cliffs at the Tilden mine. We are the last operating iron mine in Michigan. We are the boots on the ground in America's steel industry, and this year marks 178 years of mining on the Marquette Iron Range. The iron ore that is mined here in Michigan has been crucial in building our community, our nation, and Michigan into what it is today. We are here today to discuss House Bills 4007 and 4283 and their impact on the future of the Upper Peninsula economy as soon as next year. But we must remember, my friends, this affects everyone in the central UP, whether it's workers, businesses, schools, our local government, our seniors, and families like mine. We will not only be borne with the extra cost of electricity, but stand in real danger of losing our largest employer. House Bills 4007 and 4283 give the certainty we need to protect the UP economy, and time is running out. Both of these bills passed the Michigan House earlier this year with strong bipartisan support and have since stalled in the Senate. Given the recent decisions issued, the time to act is now. House Bill 4007 and 4283 provide the certainty and access to reliable energy that is key to making the Marquette Iron Range competitive for another 178 years. Mining, and even more broadly the steel industry, is very competitive business. Constant pressure from steel dumping, foreign subsidized goods are just a few of the challenges we face every day. And we are now at a critical point in our steel industry. As we move ever closer to a more environmentally sustainable economy, our steel industry is and will be a huge part of this. Cleveland Cliffs, our employer, has made great progress to reduce emissions across its footprint, whether it's utilizing hydrogen in blast furnaces or locally by replacing the Presque Isle power plant with the modern, clean Rice generators. Cleveland Cliffs is a world leader in creating a clean steel industry. We must remember that our society will have a never-ending need for products and materials. And if our domestic mines and steel industries are legislated into extinction, these materials will come from foreign sources, usually at a much higher human and environmental cost. It's simple. We mine and produce steel in the United States better, cleaner, and safer than anyone in the world. I would like to thank our legislators from the Upper Peninsula and their efforts in progression of these bills, and for putting the interests of their constituents and community first. We ask that the Senate work to swiftly, as 4007 and 4283 are instrumental to ensure that the iron miners, businesses, and community of the Marquette Iron Range will be part of our future and protect our way of life in the Central UP. Thank you. I'd like to pass it on to Ed McBroom.
Thanks, Mike. And thank you to all my colleagues and fellow UP residents who worked there and came down today. And thank you to you for being here. This is an issue that cannot be overstated, the severity, the urgency for us. And whether it's for the mine, which we recognize is of incredible importance to the future security of the Upper Peninsula, both for employment, for energy. They've been a huge partner in building energy, but it's also critical to any other business, to any other school, to nursing homes, to hospitals, to our universities. I own a small dairy farm. The amount that we pay in energy already is nearly crippling. The Upper Peninsula faces some of the highest rates of any area in the lower 48. We are already pushed to the breaking point when it comes to energy. We have huge use of propane. We have a huge cost to our electricity. And now to see this recent administrative law judge decision being forwarded to the Public Service Commission and looking at surcharges, even for a small commercial business, that will amount to an additional $1,000 a month, and to homeowners who will be paying up to hundreds more a month when this is fully implemented. And for a small dairy farm like mine to see our bills once again half over again. We are looking at the deindustrialization and the depopulation of the Upper Peninsula if we do not do something and do it very soon. These bills are ready for action. They're already through one chamber. They've been well discussed, well vetted. They have secured support across political lines and across ideological lines because people have recognized the urgency and the reality of the situation. And it's time for the Senate to move these bills quickly before the end of the year. Why should we be asking Cliffs and all the other UP ratepayers on January 1st to suddenly see a dramatic increase to pay for something that they didn't ask to have done to them and that they can't afford to see done to them? These types of carve-outs or recognitions, if you will, for the natural gas-fired plants were allowed within the original bill in other areas of the state. We're simply asking for that to be given to the Upper Peninsula situation as well, and recognize the 70% reduction we've had in emissions due to the initiation of the natural gas plants in 2019. That's why this is so urgent. It's so important to all of us. This is our families. It's our way of life. It's where we live. And we're asking for your help. We're asking for the state's help, for the understanding of the citizens of this state, and for my colleagues in the Senate to move quickly on this and get it done. Thank you. We'll take a few questions now, right?
So you've talked about this passed in the House, waiting for action in the Senate. Have you had any conversations about what it would take to get these up for a vote in the Senate? Any sort of compromises with the governor or with other senators to make this work?
Yeah, we've had some really good meetings with the leadership in the Senate on these issues. Over since they passed the House, and even dating before they passed the House, but especially since the bills have come from the House. And I think the response has been good and positive and understanding, and I appreciate that. But I think what's been missed at some points along this journey of over the summer and into the fall is the urgency. And the recent decision from the administrative law judge only validates the urgency we already felt and now just really holds it up to the bright light of day. This has to get done, and we need it done before the end of the year. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, by the way, to any of you who don't know me, I'm Lily from Gongwer. So, to Sophia's question, now that we have the ruling from the administrative law judge, and looking forward towards the end of the year, is there anything, for whether it's for Senate leadership or for the governor, that you're hoping this conversation today gets to them, and that puts on their radar to move the conversation forward and get that sense of urgency that you're hoping to see?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk over the summer as we met with the leaders that they wanted to see what the outcome of this case was. We now know what the case is. And our leaders, whether they're in the Senate, whether they're in the governor's office, they're very busy. They have a lot of other fish to fry, so to speak, right? Road funding, economic development. We want to make sure this issue is not lost and that the urgency of it, we have only a few legislative days left, perhaps 8 or 9 legislative days left. There's not a lot of time to take action. There's not a lot of time to make compromises or complicated deals. This needs to get done. The time for making a complicated deal is past, and we just need to move forward with legislation that's been very well vetted, heard out, and certainly I'm willing to work with whoever it is if there is some sort of linkage that has to happen. But we needed to have this event to help flag this and make sure that it was elevated, not just in the attention of my fellow senators and the governor's office, but to my fellow citizens of the Upper Peninsula, to other business groups and other industries that need to know, that depend on the steel industry in the UP, that depend on the other manufacturing, the forest products industry, which is the second largest part of the Upper Peninsula economy. People all over the state are depending on those products as well. One of our paper mills makes products for the hospital industry. Tremendous amount of inputs into our medical community. This is all adversely impacted by this decision, and we needed that urgency to be raised up as quickly as possible.
And you talked a little bit about this, but could you expand a bit on what would happen if we don't get this done by the end of the year?
Yeah, so starting January 1st, we'll see significant charges added to people's utility bills. Cliffs is looking at how much a day?
14,000.
14,000 a day.
14,000 a day.
And you're
Does
looking,
anyone else have numbers?
you're looking at commercial small businesses adding $30 a day. And then residential ratepayers are
By the time everything's
$5 to $7.
fully implemented, doubled.
Right, doubled.
Across the board with the mine
Right.
incurring probably $14 million.
Right, and this doesn't all, just what starts January 1st is small. $14,000 a day is small, but it's in a few more years, we're looking at massive increase up to $14 million a month for Cleveland Cliffs, doubling for residential ratepayers for a dairy farm, and more than that for a commercial business.
I imagine this has been a part of the conversations that you've been having with other senators or with the EOG, but I know it's a major concern for anyone in the UP who has a more environmental focus, talking about these next conversations, because of course this will let these rice generators continue operating and keep some of the rate prices low, but then I think there's some worry here that it's just a free pass to not move forward with any sort of clean energy legislation. So what are some of the conversations you've been having about what next steps after these are passed, what next steps can be taken to kind of move with the rest of the state?
Well, the legislation really only provides the ability to maintain the rice units up to 2049. Right now, under the current law, they could technically be allowed to remain till 2040, correct? But it's not feasible due to the planning process that the utilities have to go through, and they can't just build everything and flip a switch on January 1st of 2040. So, and plus there's other implementations that have to be met as we ramp up the renewable percent that's required. And so they would be effectively out of business by 2032 or 2035.
I would say if things don't move, probably sooner.
So we're looking to extend that lifetime to 2049 and give more time for planning, more time to finish paying for the rice units. Because even if we close them sooner, we're still going to be paying on them till 2049, plus the additional build-up costs of everything else.
Can I say something?
Please. Yeah.
One of the things that people fail to realize is how much renewable energy is going to be required in the Upper Peninsula after all this devastation. So right now, they're working out a projection to build capacity for Cliffs. When they leave, they're 60% of our consumption. How much then is necessary? When the rest of the commercial manufacturing in the UP closes up shop, then how much renewable is required? When we depopulate because our citizens do not have jobs, how much is required then? This is a daisy chain of events that's going to ultimately end in the destruction of the Upper Peninsula. Our power grid is far different from the Lower Peninsula. We have no integration with Canada. Our only integration is what we generate ourselves in the Upper Peninsula and what we pull from the state of Wisconsin. So down in Lower Michigan, we pull from Canada, we pull from ComEd, we pull from PJM. We've got interconnections and leverage down below the bridge that the UP simply just does not have. This cannot be overstated. We are looking at the end of the UP and the UP's economy as we know it.
Anyone else need to add anything? Anyone else have a question?
I'll keep poking at that one if it's okay.
That's fine.
So, I mean, we've had these conversations before. I'm kind of tailing off of conversations I've had in the past, but there's, not the dialogue has been that solar and wind are not super viable options for the Upper Peninsula. We saw legislation move for small modular nuclear, which I know is a passion of yours, Rep. Prestin. So, I'm hearing here that this is just going to help extend the life of these generators, but I mean, what is next? Has there not been any conversation about what will be next?
Dave? Or Karl?
What comes up next is what Representative Prestin has been proposing. It's nuclear, but right now the costs are prohibitive to get nuclear online, and it's going to take some time. So this, keeping these RICE generators is really a bridge until we get to that point where if you're worried about carbon dioxide emissions, that will be taken care of eventually, but we still have the cost to deal with. We have to have reliable plus affordable energy.
Dave, you want to add anything else?
Yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about from the beginning, that the Upper Peninsula is not in a situation to be able to really transition in the way that 235 mandated. My hope is that we get this carve out so that the RICE generators can continue through the life of their bonded life. And at that point, I firmly believe that SMR technology and other technologies are going to evolve. Because at the end of the day, there is no such thing as a thriving economy without abundant, affordable energy. They are synonymous with each other. The one requires the other. And where we are headed right now is really, like I said, it cannot be overstated. We are literally in the fight for our existence in the UP.
I think that it's critical to note, Sophia, that you have an industry that is 60% of our load, right, and a huge part of our economy, and to ask them to shift entirely to intermittent generation is something that's very difficult to answer. So you're asking me to prognosticate whether we close these RICE units early or whether we extend them to 2049, what comes after that, and if we stick with the current law and go to an intermittent-based resource generation or simply more transmission from Wisconsin, either way we are facing a crisis. We're asking to delay that crisis. We're asking to make sure that we have more time for planning and more time to mitigate these costs. Maybe the technology for solar and wind improves dramatically by then as well. But at present, it's impossible to answer that question because the outcome is going to be the same.
So we look at this sort of as like the stopgap idea until we can get to the next best solution.
Or have more time to craft a better solution. And we're happy to work with others who supported 235 in the first place to work a better solution if there is one. But as that law stands now, and as you're seeing it implemented with the recent case, the things that we red flagged back then are coming true. And they're going to make a serious impact on the UP. And if we lose our employers, the forest products industry, the iron ore, our other mining industries, then what's going to be left to work on. We don't feel there's going to be much left. So that's why we're desperate. We love where we live. We love what we get to do there. We love raising our families there. And we don't feel that we should have to suddenly move on and not fight for it. We're fighting for it. Is that all? All right. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thanks for coming down. Thanks for all you're doing down today.
Yeah, you know you will.